Hello my darlings, welcome to another International Booker, Women's Fiction and Stella Prize list reading vlog. I have just realised that all of the winners are going to be announced in May, well / June, but two of them in early May. And I do want to get all of my vlogs out before then. So I am going to be doing more than 3 books per vlog, just so I can cram them into maybe 2, 3 max more vlogs. And get it up before the winners are announced, because also I've decided to do some other prize nominee vlogs as well. So lots of vlogs, not enough time, eh? But I have already started reading. So far I'm halfway through Ankami by Debra, Dank. And this is a family memoir about family absence and the brutal machinery of colonial policy in Australia. So Dank's family was personally affected by the stolen children generation, and she is going through archival documents and memories and silences and the emotional echoes that linger in families after the events themselves. So I said previously this was something that was told to me in my family, so I didn't learn about this in school. I will say these days schools do teach the students more about Indigenous Australian culture. For instance, my kids' school, the name of it is an Indigenous Australian word, as are the names of all their houses, so they're Aboriginal words that the children learn. They also have multiple incursions and excursions every year where elders come, or representatives of the tribes with the permission of the elders come to teach the children their stories about their dream time, their arts and crafts, their way of living, how to forage. And I think that is really wonderful. Every school has an acknowledgement to country now, so they acknowledge the true owners of the land. For instance, my schools says that they are on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and we wish to acknowledge them as the traditional custodians of the land. And we would also like to pay our respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. So there's just a lot more acknowledgement than when I was a child, but I learned about stolen generation because my great-grandmother was friends with a local community, and upon one of her visits, I'll put a picture, this is my great-grandfather with the kids, she noticed some of the kids were missing, and she's like, where are the kids? And she was told that they had been taken, and so she went immediately with her husband to protest that they be released immediately back to their families, and they arrested her instead, and my grandfather, for disturbing the peace. I think I have another photo of them going to court. Unfortunately, I'm gonna start fucking crying. Those children weren't returned to their families, and my great-grandmother always just felt really fucking powerless that she was not able to help her friends. It's just what was done to Indigenous Australians by the settlers that came here was genocide. And then even when they stopped physically killing them, they killed their culture and their stories, and then they stole their children to kill their futures. And it is just so fucked up. And I know the government has made some reparations, but there's literally, the damage that they have done cannot be undone. Like, they have, I'm sorry, but yeah, that just fucking destroyed these people. Just because they were here first and they wanted what they had. These people who lived with the land and cared about the country. But like I said, this is a hard book to read. It's beautifully written, but it is devastating. This author, her grandmother alone, had 6 of her children taken from her. 6. And I don't know if they end up finding them or what happened to them. I haven't finished it. But yeah, it's fucked up. And look, there is still racism in Australia towards Aborigines or Indigenous Australians. So yeah, things are far from okay now, just because, they've acknowledged and said sorry. They saw the whole fucking Australia Day bullshit that's still going on. I just feel like it's lip service, but yeah, I'm not, learned enough about their culture and what they would like done politically or anything like that. But I'm halfway through, and like I said, it's written beautifully. So I'm still trying to like not fucking cry. I will tell you more about it once I've finished it, so I've got a better idea of how it is as a whole. It is a memoir as well, so it's also about her life, you know, separate from that particular historical atrocity. I was reading Flashlight by Susan Choi, so this was a family drama litfic, and it was about a dad who goes for a seaside walk and disappears. And then his daughter, who was found wet and in shock, is fucking traumatized, obviously. Everyone is coping very badly, and flashlights are used as a metaphor. I'm sorry, but this was boring to me. It was not much plot. It was way too long, and I didn't care. It didn't make me care about the characters. So this one wasn't for me, and I did DNF it. The next women's book that I'm going to go on to is The Benefactors by Wendy Erskine. With the international booker, I haven't gotten anything in yet. The Wax Child, She Who Remains in Small Comfort, says that they're coming within 2 weeks. So with Libby, as you know, it could be anytime. It could literally be 2 weeks, or it could be today. So we'll see. The Duke, I don't know if I'm going to get to that. Only one library had it, and all they had was one physical copy. And I'm fourth in line, so I actually might not read that before the winner is announced. We shall see. But if I get to one in this vlog, great. If not, it'll be in the next vlog. As I said, because I want to only do 2, maybe 3 more max and get them all done before the first round of winners are announced. I'm just going to be shoving whatever I can into each vlog from whatever prize. So we've got, like I said, so many women's and Stella Prize options that I have already available. So I'll just be going through them, whatever I get in, boom, 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 boom.
And who's here? Hello, darling.
So I have read Ankami by Debra Dank. This was the Indigenous Australian memoir that isn't just primarily about the children that were taken, but also about those who remained. So the siblings, the parents, the relatives who were left to live with the gaps the stolen children left behind. This was mostly a meditation on memory and grief and the ways colonial systems attempted to erase Aboriginal families, but it also shows how their stories and their love persist despite the erasure. That being said, it's also just a general memoir about the author's life, so I did prefer more of the Indigenous Australian parts because the author is half Indigenous Australian and half Anglo. I didn't really love the other memoirish parts, but that's just because I'm not really a memoir reader. The only memoirs I tend to read are ones about grief. The main themes in this were the stolen generations, silence and family secrets, archival violence and how records erase humanity, memory versus official history, colonial bureaucracy, grief for lives never lived together, and the persistence of family connection. I gave this a 4 stars overall. I still think it was beautifully written, and it's a subject matter that I feel strongly about, so I did enjoy my time with this book. Vibe check. Family stories around a fire. Generational heartbreak. I think you would be interested in this book if you are interested in reading about Australian history and also in Indigenous storytelling. Similar books or films, Rabbit Proof Fence is the one that comes to mind. But yes, another great book from the Stella Prize list. I am now going to read The Benefactors by Wendy Erskine.
Ow, Blue.
Okay, so I just had I Am Nanette come in by Tasma Walton, so I thought I'd pick it up. It's about an Indigenous Australian woman who is kidnapped and enslaved, but she doesn't allow her captors to erase her identity and her memories and her need to pass on her culture through motherhood. Unfortunately, I'm just not vibing with the writing style. I had to double check. It was coming across as very middle grade to me, and it's not meant to be. It's meant to be adult. But yeah, look, it's heavy topics. It's once again colonialist brutalism directed at Indigenous Australians and also the wildlife in Australia, so seals being slaughtered. And it's heavy, but yeah, the way it's written, I feel like I'm reading a middle grade book. So I think I've got my first DNF from the Stella Prize list. I think too because I just read a book about a heavy topic to do with Indigenous Australians' history. And this is obviously going to go into all of that, like the rape and violence and slaughter and everything to do. And just because I don't like the way it's written, I thought, yeah, I'm just going to skip this one. So I'm skipping that one. She Who Remains has come in. So that and The Benefactor are now the next two that I will be going on to. I've got a lot of updates for you. So I was reading She Who Remains by Renee Karabash, translated by Isidora Angel. This is about a young woman who is trapped by tradition and ends up renouncing her gender to survive, only to discover that freedom comes at a very brutal emotional cost. I think the biggest issue I had with this book, I read half of it, was just the way it was structured. So it was done in this very fractured stream of consciousness, poetic form that just did not work for me. I found it too chaotic and too confusing to read. I just wasn't meshing with the style. There were also a lot of animal killings in this one. So I thought, you know what, even though it's a short book, I'm not enjoying myself. There is no reason for me to push through. So I did end up DNFing it. That was an International Booker nominee. I then picked up The Benefactors by Wendy Erskine. This is on the women's fiction list. This is a lit fic, and it's about three very different mothers whose sons are accused of sexual assault and their loyalty turns ruthless. They reveal exactly what money, class, and denial can buy. I did not like the voice of this novel, and I've now learned what this is. So for me, I was just like, oh, I don't like the voice of it. It's done in a polyphonic narrative style, and yeah, that does not work for me. I could not keep track of the characters and who was saying what. It was just so messy in my head and just not my vibe at all. Like, cool that it's something different. I've never read something like that, but wasn't for me, unfortunately. So I also DNF'd that one. I am now going to pick up Find Me at the Jaffa Gate, an encyclopedia of a Palestinian family by Michaela Sahar. This is a non-fiction memoir. This is on the Stella Prize list. The Wax Child is so close to coming in, so that will probably be the next international booker that I get onto. And I don't know what else I've got coming in quickly. Oh, I've got Canon by Levi at the library, so I might go and grab that. So I'll also be reading that. That's another Stella Prize though. Oh, I would love to read one of the others, but we'll see what the library's got coming in, and I'll update you soon.
Kitty's favourite place to sleep at the moment, this random bag. And then in here, I don't know if you can see it. I'll zoom out. Can we see? Oh. Where's her face? I don't even know where her face is. Oh, there it is. I think I see an eye. So cute.
Hey guys, I've got a quick update for you. So I was reading Find Me at the Jaffa Gate, an encyclopedia of a Palestinian family by Michaela Sahar, which was a non-fiction memoir about a daughter who pieces together her family's fractured history after Nakba. There was a lot about diaspora identity too. I will start by saying the writing style wasn't really for me, and then about 15% of the way into it, a certain person decided to tweet something that moved the market 350 points in the space of 20 seconds, which was financially devastating for me. And it turned out that tweet was not the truth. So then the market completely corrected within 12 hours. So it was an unnecessary, massive loss thanks to one piece of shit who likes to use the stock market as his playground by tweeting false statements and then flipping it. I think there's a term, people are calling them taco at the moment. I don't want to name names because I don't want to get into trouble, but I ended up being up all night watching this craziness, calculating how much money I had lost. Yes, I did have stops, and so sometimes what I do if I'm going to bed at night, I'll put trades in the market at certain levels and I'll have stops on those. And unfortunately, even though my lowest entry point was 150 points away from where the market was currently trading, 350 point move meant that it went through that one, stopped it out, went through the next one, stopped it out, went through the next one, stopped it out. So My heart goes out for people who didn't have stops and got liquidated, because I'm sure a lot of people's accounts got liquidated with such a massive move in such a short amount of time based on a false statement. But because of that, I was just not in a great mood. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think I'm in a good headspace to read books, non-fiction books in particular, about either sad or depressing or upsetting or dark, bleak subject matter. There's a war going on. It is affecting our day-to-day lives, and also it is negatively affecting me financially. So I'm DNFing this book. I'm not in the right headspace to read something like this at this point in time. And unfortunately, I think quite a few of these books on here might fall victim to that, but this is the way I am in terms of reading. I am a mood reader, and sometimes if I am not in the right mood because of life circumstances, there are certain books that just will not appeal to me, or I will not enjoy because I'm needing something different than the reality that I am living in currently. So all that to say, this might be a fantastic book, but I know that I am not mentally able to read that right now when I'm going through these other circumstances. So I did DNF that. But like I said too, it wasn't just a theme. The writing style wasn't really doing anything for me. I was persisting because I felt like it was an important book to read based on the fact that it was a Palestinian experience and I wanted to support that particular demographic, but the book wasn't for me.
Two kitties on the towel. So cute.
Hello, darlings. I'm here. That is, it's going down. Hold on. Okay, I'm here with an update. So we have Canon by Lee Lai. So this is about, I think they're an ace woman's slow descent into a nervous breakdown. So the book is mostly in black and white. I'll just give you an example of the style. And then there'll be the occasional bits of red for moments of sort of extreme anger. So they work at a restaurant and they are kind of ignored and they're a bit of a doormat. Their father is in a home and is causing a lot of issues, but I didn't like this book. So I didn't really like the illustration style. It wasn't for me. And it does this thing, there is full nudity and sex scenes in this, by the way, where they will double up the talking, what do you call them? Speech bubbles when characters are talking over each other. And I understand it's because the person's talking over the person, but I fucking hated it because I couldn't read the speech bubbles properly and it would be, cut off. It's just something that annoyed me, but I couldn't connect to this book and I wasn't enjoying my time reading it. And because I don't like the art style, which is a huge component in graphic novels for me in regards to my enjoyment, I decided to DNF this one. So this was on the Stella Prize list, I want to say. And then I picked up 58 Facets on Law, Violence and Revolution by Marika Sosnowski. And this is a political memoir / essay. And they do this kind of diamond like exploration of how violence, displacement and law bleeds across generations, borders and bodies. And in the first chapter, they were saying how their parents had to go through border checks during Nazi Germany, and then they were having to go through checkpoints in Australia in 2019. And she's referencing the COVID pandemic. So in Australia, all of our borders closed, so you could no longer cross state lines. And in Melbourne, we had 5-kilometre limits. We could not travel more than 5 kilometers from our home. And so we had checkpoints where you would be pulled over by police and they would ask to see identification so they could see where you live to make sure you were complying with, their laws. And she said it was triggering for her. And she thought, how can this be happening here? I never thought it would ever happen here, meaning in Australia, that there would be border and checkpoints and border closures and confinement. And I'm like, yeah, man, I didn't think we went into a nanny authoritarian state so fast with COVID. Like I said, in Melbourne, we had the harshest lockdowns. and the longest lockdowns, you know, with the curfews and the 5 kilometer containments and the state border closures, not being able to cross state lines. It was nuts. And, you know, being asked for your identification to make sure that you're complying. So I gave it like an okay shot, but I'm not in the mental space to read something like this. So her family did flee Nazi occupied Germany, and then they went through a Japanese internment camp in Java and then into a migrant accommodation camp in Brisbane. So yeah, it's part memoir, part expose. Not for me this time. So I am DNFing this for now. There's only 2 more books to read in the Stella Prize. There's Kontra, a book of poetry, and Apron-Sorrow, Sovereignty, which is a non-fiction, and we'll see what the subject matter of that one is about, and then I'll be done with the Stella Prize list. And then the Women's Prize, I still have 7 books to read, and with the International Booker, there's just 3. I don't think the Duke will come in time. I'm almost certain about that one, whereas Wax Child and Small Comfort should, so I'll definitely get onto those at some point. Next up, I think with the women's, I think A Beast Links Towards Beijing is coming, as well as Gloria Don't Speak, and the others might be next up, but I'll see you, once another lot of prize list books comes my way. The next book that I have to update you on is The Wax Child by Olga Ravn. This was translated by Marta Aitken and narrated by Freya Miller. I gave this a 2.5 stars. It is set in the 17th century Denmark, and it is about an unmarried noblewoman named Christens and several other women whom are all accused of witchcraft. They are rumoured to be possessed by the devil, who comes to them and gives them dark powers with which they perform dark, unchristian acts and con and steal other people's happiness. They cause pestilence and illness and even death. And once this rumour of witchcraft has taken hold, they are all in danger of the stake. It is narrated by a wax doll that was created by Christens, and the whole book is based on the real-life infamous witchcraft trials that took place in northern Jutland, and Olga weaves in real quotes from original sources such as letters, documents, magic spells, and Scandinavian grimoires. This book was odd. It is not written in a very coherent storytelling fashion. It is rather repetitive. I will just insert this clip here so you can hear for yourselves.
I wish I could stay, someone said. And I'm angry with Metz, someone said. Yes, God, and I'm so very tired of Anna, someone said. But what happened to the mistress of Baggiswolm, someone said. I must go, someone said, and went.
So there was lots of different repetition used throughout the book. The narrative to me was just confusing and disjointed and abstract and weird, and I could not connect to the story or the characters. I just didn't feel anything with this book. I think that Olga's writing style just isn't for me. I have felt similar ways with her other books. The idea of it is cool, but the execution just doesn't connect or land for me. This book did very much remind me of Hex by Jenny Fagan. So if you like this book, or you liked Hex, that might work for you. But yeah, for me, this ended up being a 2.5 stars. I thought the narration was done well. I want to say that too. Props to the narrator. I then picked up The Duke by Matteo Melchiorre, and it was translated by Anodella Lettieri, and it is about a reclusive aristocrat who is living in the remote Dolomite village, and he's forced out of isolation when a petty land dispute awakens his ancestral pride. Touch his trees, awaken his bloodline. The first chapter was about the crucifying of crows, so that didn't start off well for me. And it was written in a classic style, but it is set in modern times. To me, this was reminding me of books like Stoner or The Goblin Emperor. I just didn't care enough about this man to read 400 or so pages of his tree dispute, so I DNF'd it. I then read Paradiso 17 by Hannah Lilith Asadi. This is about a man who was exiled during the Nakba, and he spends a lifetime crossing continents in search of home, love, and himself. I'm sorry, my guy, but I thought the main character, Sufyan, was a shitty guy. He was a shitty guy, a bit of a douche, and this book dragged for me, but I just didn't want to read about this man, so I DNF'd it. I then picked up Gloria Don't Speak by Lucy Apps. This is about a vulnerable young woman with a learning disability that impedes her ability to talk, and it is about her navigating loneliness and danger and her longing for connection after a toxic friendship resurfaces. The way this was written just didn't work for me. I had high hopes about this because I have a family member who has a disability that has taken from them their ability to talk, so they are non-verbal. But with Lucy and this guy, I didn't want her being friends with this guy, this problematic dude. But like I said, the way that it was written was hurting my brain to read, and I wasn't enjoying the process of reading it, so I DNF'd it. I haven't had much of a lucky streak, so with the International Booker, I'm now down to one final book, and that is Small Comfort by Genberg. I do have hopes for this one. This was one of the ones I thought I might like. Is it going to be a 4-star though? Because that is what I'm hoping for with the final book to crack the 4-star range for me in personal enjoyment. So far, I've only read 4 out of the books. Every single other one I've DNF'd because I just wasn't enjoying it. So yeah, this year definitely has not been a win for me. We'll see what we get with Small Comfort, if we can finish it off at least with a 5th book that I thought was good enough to read to the end. And then we have the women's fiction. So with that, I have 5 more books to read. I am the most hopeful about A Beast Slinks Towards Beijing, and I may purchase that just so I can get onto it sooner rather than waiting. Heart the Lover is very popular in the mainstream, but I have always been a bit of a contrarian, so I'm not sure, but it could be good. And the others, Mercy Step and Best of Everything, I don't have high hopes for because they just don't sound like books that I would have picked up on my own volition, of my own volition. I think it is of, not on, right? Getting caught up on the semantics of grammar there. And then Stella Prize, I only have 2 more to read. So that's Kontra and Apron-Sorrow Sovereignty. I don't know how I'm going to feel about these. One's a poetry book and one's a non-fiction book. They're wild cards. It could go either way. At the moment, I have read the most in this prize. Like, I've continued with the most books. So this one has had the most ones that I've been interested in thus far, with some higher rated books as well. The ones that I have DNF'd are more of the heavier topics, especially to do with war or violence and colonialism and things of that vein. So yeah, we'll see how we go. So 8 more books left. I hope to get to them all before we've got the first winner announcement, which is, who's the earliest? 19th of May, 11th of June, 13th of May. So the Stella Prize announces at 13th of May. So I'd love to have this vlog up then. We'll see if the library gods allow it. But I'll see you when I've got my next book update for you. Okay, so we have one cat down here sunning herself on the rays, and then another kitty's tucked herself in there, and then the final kitty is she's behind the blinds on the windowsill. Blue Val, I think she's watching the birds outside. She's sort of seeping off. Hello darlings. So I had picked up Heart the Lover by Lily King. So this is about a woman who is in her final year of college, and she meets 2 boys, Sam and Yash. She has a relationship with one of them. It doesn't pan out. And then she has a relationship with the other one, which also for reasons doesn't pan out. And then years later, she is now a successful writer. She's married, she has children, and she's forced to revisit that formative triangle from her past. Bro, I think I read about 80 pages, 100 or so of this. It felt so YA to me. I thought, is this a YA book? Because that's how it's reading. That's how the characters are feeling. I thought the writing itself was also very choppy and staccato, and I just did not buy any of the relationship connections in this book. The first boyfriend, Sam, was a massive religious hypocritical dick. So I was glad she broke up with him, but I could predict where this story was going. It was pretty obvious, the setup, and I decided to DNF, but I read the end anyway, and I was exactly right of how this was going. Personally, yeah, this just didn't read like great literature to me. It just felt very mainstream and popcorn. So I did decide to DNF it, and then I went and bought A Beast Slinks Towards Beijing by Alice Evelyn Yang. This is about a daughter's long absent father who suddenly reappears. Is he carrying the guilt over abandoning his family? Nah, brah. Instead, he's bringing with him a new alcohol and cigarette addiction, as well as a family prophecy. And then our main character, Kianzi, starts digging into her family's past. Because it's refusing to stay buried, her reality begins to glitch. She starts seeing creepy jackalope spirits haunting her, and her nightmares are bleeding into her waking life. And fate feels like a stalking beast. In this book, you do have three perspectives. So you have Kianzi's, her dad, Wei Hong, and her grandmother, Ming. They are not done in chronological order. So the chronological narrative was jarring for me because we keep going back and forward in time with each of the characters. The book itself is very heavy. I'll get back to that in a second. I found it slow and confusing. It was also quite repetitive. We were told about crepe myrtle trees at least 100 times, and it just felt really bloated and clunky and heavy-handed. It was mostly about coping strategies and what we do to survive, the lengths we are willing to go to. There was a lot of magical realism in regards to Chinese folklore, because that is representing the beast that is stalking this family, and that beast is generational trauma. There was a lot of, is this real, is it not real? But overall, this was just depresso espresso, and it was putting me into a massive book slump. It took me 4 days to read 60% of this book. I wasn't enjoying my time reading it, going back to the heavy events. I will just list some of the trigger warnings here so you get an idea. So we've got lots of grape, especially surrounding events like the rape of Nanking, the Cultural Revolution, comfort women. There was a lot of, obviously, then SA as well, pregnancy and birth horrors, drug addiction, domestic and child abuse, and the list goes on. It was just bumming me out, and I was trying to force myself to read it because I purchased it. It's in the boot of my car. I'll see if I can go and do a little video of it so you can see. The cover is gorgeous. I love the cover, but the book itself, it was just dragging me down, and like I said, it was putting me into a huge book slump. I didn't want to pick it up. I didn't want to continue reading. So I was like, Chanel, just because you bought it doesn't mean you have to read it if this is ruining your enjoyment of reading. So this just very much was not the book for me, and I did DNF that one as well. I don't have any other books to go on to yet. I saw that Small Comfort by Genberg did not make the shortlist. I will still be reading it. I am surprised that Women Without Men didn't make it. I thought that would. Obviously, out of the ones that made it, On Earth as It Is Beneath would be my pick because I just found it the most enjoyable and fun to read. It was like a bit of an action movie in a book. I am very surprised The Witch made the list. That's just a book that feels pointless. You don't understand what point the author really was trying to make with the story, and it was so abrupt and the character was so passive. So I'm surprised that made the list. Out of the ones that are on there, who do I think will win? Who do I think will win? Maybe She Who Remains. I'm going to go with that one. That's what I think is going to win. But I'll see you with my next book. Hello, lovelies. So I read Apron-Sorrow, Sovereignty by Natalie Harkin. So this is on the Stella Prize list. That's the magpie asking for num-nums. I'll read you what it's about. This is an archival poetic interrogation of the state's colonial archive as a critical site of memory, conservation, preservation, and erasure that continues to resonate as a contemporary repository of social meaning. The state Aboriginal records, domestic service files, reveal the unfolding rationale for interdependent policies of child removal, institutionalisation, and domestic training as important context to the burgeoning Aboriginal domestic service workforce into the 20th century. Records reveal voices from protectors, mission superintendents, white employers, the parents, girls and women themselves placed into training or service. They trigger questions about surveillance, representation, and agency. They're deeply confronting and at the same time ripe for critique, explication, and response. So this is a mixed media format. There are pictures, photography, interviews, records, law cases and bills, personal stories, family stories, poetry, just a lot of different things. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. I preferred the non-legal stuff. So it was quite legal heavy with state facts and such. It's disgusting to know that the government still hasn't released all of the records because they don't want any further legal action taken against them for compensation to people who were affected, especially by the stolen generation. And that is that's rather sickening, but that's the way it is. It was, like I said, a lot about the stolen generation, but all about the girls that were placed into what is essentially slave labor or, domestic servants. Okay. And there would be people requesting, some of them black or half-caste children to come work for them. So girls as young as 10 years old, placed into houses to do work. Sometimes a lot of these girls would end up pregnant and have children. They would not be allowed to see their families. It's abuse. The white folks are devils when you read stuff like this. But yeah, I didn't love more of the legal records and bills and statements and court cases and such. So I've given it a 3.5. Obviously, I've just read also Ankami. So when you read multiple books sort of about similar experiences and topics, it can be just like a bit more of the same. But like I said, I did love the mixed media format, but it just makes you sick. I think there was something I wanted to read. There's something I dog-eared. What was this? Oh, yeah. This just made my blood boil. So in this is a sort of an interview and they state that it's best to remove the children from the homes around 2 to 3 years of age, because any younger than that, it's a massive burden to take care of them. But, when they're 3 years old, they're cute and they don't require as much attention, and there's still time for them to establish habits and customs. I'm quite aware that you are depriving the mothers of their children, and the mothers are very fond of their children. But I think it must be the rising generation who have to be considered. They are people who are going to live on. The mothers are fond of their children. You don't say, you son of a bitch. But yeah, it was disgusting to read too with a half-caster. Like with some further breeding, they will eventually be white, and that is the aim. So yeah, interesting read. Like I said, it's coming after I read Ankami and I am Nanette and the like. But I think if you wanted to start somewhere, this is. But like I said, it's beautifully executed in terms of the quality. Oh, that scared me. But hopefully I can get the other 5 books in before we run out of time.
What are you doing? Hi. Hello. Oh, so cute. Yeah, hello. Oh my god, Sylvie. Kisses. Sylvie just Sylvie! Oh, kisses! It's just so cute. Sylvie, wait! Sylvie! Come on, Sylvie. Oh my god. Oh, Sylvie. She's like, who did not want to wait? Come on, Sylvie. Oh my gosh, she's sleeping like that. Sylvie. Yup. Oh my gosh. Hey, Sylvie. Hey, Sylvie. Sylvie's like, hello guys, I'm here. Sylvie's butt has been on my channel so often. It's always her butt. She needs to show her butt off. See, bro, when Bubbles is upset, she's like, oh my god. 有人跳水为什么
Oh my god, just be like Nova.
Hello, my darlings. I'm coming to you today with some more updates. So I was reading The Mercy Step by Marsha Hutchinson. So this is about a little girl named Mercy who's part of a Jamaican family who are now living in England, and it's the 1960s. And she's stuck in this house, which is very crowded. There's a lot of adults who aren't exactly safe or consistent for her. She's a very smart, precocious kid, I think kind of like Matilda. We start the book with being in her POV while she's still in the womb. And she comes out and she's already talking and walking before 1 year of age. She doesn't have the same dialect as her family, who have the Jamaican dialect. She speaks and thinks in a very sort of typical English British kind of way. And she escapes a lot into her imagination to escape her confining, restrictive, abusive reality. So I read half of this and I DNF'd it when we got to the point where she was raped or essayed, I guess, by one of her cousins. And it's also in a child's POV. I don't mind child's POVs in middle grade books and children's books and such, but I don't tend to love child POVs in adult books. But yeah, it was just, I didn't want to read about that kind of subject matter, and I wasn't really invested in it, to be honest. So I DNF'd it. And then I picked up The Others by Sheena Khalil. This is about 3 friends from different places who all currently live in East Germany, right as the wall is about to fall. And they are all tied up with a lot of like secrets and romances and politics and the literal collapse of a country. I just didn't like the writing style, and the characters felt really flat, and I could not give a toss about anybody in this book. So it just, yeah, it wasn't doing anything for me. So I DNF'd it. Now, I just got in Small Comfort by Genberg, so I'll be reading that. I'm going to try and actually finish these off today. I would love to get this up. With the Women's Prize, I am not going to get to The Best of Everything by Kit Duval. It's just too long a list. The books haven't even come in yet. It's not going to happen before the winner is announced on June 11th. So the Women's, I have finished. So my final thoughts on the Women's Fiction Prize. I only was interested in reading 3 of them in full. So it's not a very high percentage. The ones I read, Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey was my 5-star read and my favorite. I also liked The Kingfisher by Rosie Kelly, which was a 4, and The Correspondent by Virginia Evans was a 3.5. Who do I think will win? The Correspondent. I just think it's a very palatable book for the masses. It's a please everybody, at least somewhat kind of book, so it's not very polarizing in that respect. I think that one is going to win. So that's what I would place my money on. Wild Dark Shore was my favorite, but like I said, Kingfisher was also good. But I will not be doing dedicated vlogs to the women's fiction going forward. I'm still going to check it out and add books to my TBR that sound interesting, but yeah, no dedicated vlogs for this one because, yeah, percentage ratio wise, just more losses than wins for me with this particular prize. And then we have the Stella Prize. I have one more book to read, which is Kontra by Eunice Andrada. It's a collection of poetry. You're probably going to see me really quickly because it's a short book of poetry, so I'm going to bust that out now, and then I'll have finished that prize list as well. So we'll see how we go with the Stella and the International Booker for the final books, and I'll come to you with my closing thoughts about which ones I will do again and which ones I will be saying sayonara to. Okay, so I just finished Kontra by Eunice. Eunice Andrada. So this is inspired by the on-screen lives of contrabitas in Filipino soap operas, and it is a triptych, so it's in 3 parts. The first part is called Kontra, and it's about contrabitas, so individual poems. Contrabita is a Tagalog word for villain, and in these poems it's about women. And then the second part is called Opera, and this one is about the process of divorcing or being widowed. It's about leaving men, having been victims of men. So that was the second part. And then the third part is called Bida. And they're poems about owning your desires and thirst for love and obsession and that sort of thing. So it sort of moves from conflict to confrontation to liberation across the 3 parts. It's going from Kontra to main character energy. I thought it was a really good poetry collection. I'm going to read one of them to you. I've got Pink Grapefruit. 6 Caravaggios that searing afternoon. Our dehydration as marble dripped slick with light on the statues, the lids of tombs, what eats the flesh in the afterlife. Glinting newborn that autumn. In a haven of temperature-controlled galleries, you sutured a future I didn't want to wear. It was the first time I noticed. For your photographs, my lips parted forever against a backdrop of bitter fruit, Sicilian oranges on my dress to match the vitamin-rich paint. I didn't let you touch me. Verses lurked in my head. You took pictures when I wasn't looking, pretended you were interested in other details. The dresses others wore, how Carrara marble caves under touch in the rape of Proserpina, the taking made to appear a tender act. Home in the evening. You talked to me while I oiled my face to wash off the rouge. I like it when the curtains fatten with silence. When I was in another room, you smeared my pillows with cologne and left for your flight. Your motive was to appeal to my animal instincts, for me to trace your scent and crave you. The poems returned in a dream as if they slipped away for a cold walk in the cold air while waiting for me to be alone. They smelled like juniper berries, cedar, tonka, a souring bouquet. So now I have finished the Stella Prize list. So what are my thoughts? This was a good list for me. So I only DNF'd 4 of the options and I read the rest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I was curious enough to read 8. Wild Duck Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. Once again was my favourite read because it is a 5-star read. I also did like Memorial Days by Geraldine Brooks, which is a 4.25. And like I said, this poetry collection was good. I will definitely be doing a dedicated vlog for the Stella again in the future. This was a successful book prize for me, and I do like that it spotlights Australian literature, since I don't think that gets a lot of attention on booktube. Yeah, the ones I didn't have to more of the heavier topics, ones that were about war or colonialism and violence, and it was because I'd already read about other books in this list, so there was like some doubling up of subject matter in regards to some of the books that were selected for the Stella Prize. But the winner is announced on the 13th of May. Who do I think will win? Look, Wild Duck Shore is a bit of a global book. Memorial Days, possibly. Fireweather as well, but that is a sequel, so maybe they'll take out Fireweather. So I'm going to put my money on Wild Duck Shore Memorial Days as the winner for the Stella Prize. But that was a success. Now I'm going on to Small Comfort by Genberg. I've already started reading, so I'm on page 43. This is a collection of 5 short stories that are about money. I'm not sure if they're interconnected, but I think money is the main subject theme of the book. The first story seems to be an interview with Genberg. So I'm not sure if this is real or fictionalized, but she's put herself in the story and she is interviewing this man, which is meant to be an interview about his participation in a television series. But he is an ex-con, a thief, and he's talking a lot about money, especially like in regards to like his search for gold. So I'm enjoying it thus far. Yeah, I've just finished the first story. The male character in this places a lot of value on money. That's what money does to you. It will change your life. Nothing else can transform somebody's life as radically as money can. Only love and death are capable of bringing about that kind of change. I was enjoying this, and then it overstayed its welcome. So it's 105 pages long, and then it ends abruptly, quite literally, in the middle of a sentence. So I think I'm going to give this one a 3.25, and now we'll go on to the next short story.
What are you doing, honey? Oh, you getting comfy? Are you comfortable? Bluebell, I love you.
Okay, I just read the next story. It's about a man who mysteriously disappears from his job at a drug pharmaceutical company. These stories are interconnected. So in the first story, the thief stole a BMW and crashed it, but then he said he was being pursued by the people who own the car, even though the car was returned to them. We find out that there was a briefcase in the car, and I think he took it, and then they had to come and reclaim it. So it's interconnected. That one was a 3 stars. We've got another book. Okay, speech at a wedding wasn't what I thought. So an actress is delivering a speech at this wedding that has been written by this other man, and this other man is currently physically incapacitated because of a medical condition. He lost his daughter. His daughter ended up turning to heroin, but it's alluded to that this man whose wedding it is was involved in her death. He's a wealthy man, and he's trying to, I guess, get some justice for his daughter's death, possibly murder. I don't know, like 3.25. The next story is called The Loser's Claustrophobia. Okay, I just read that story. So this story was about an experiment involving Monopoly and participants, but the game is stacked. So one person starts with more money, they get 2 dice, the other person only gets 1. Every time the richer person passes go, they get double the amount. And it was juxtaposed with the person's personal life. It was, mostly about, I don't know, some takeaways. Maybe having more money gives you this sort of generalized sense of superiority, and it kind of makes you a bit of a dick, I guess, the more money you have. I think because I just recently played a 4-hour game of Monopoly and then was the banker for another 2-3 hour game of Monopoly, I'm Monopolyed out, bro. So this one was like a 2.5 to me. I didn't really enjoy it. We're down to the last story. So this is a story about the married couple having to pretend that they're still married to keep an inheritance. And it's a longer story in the collection. It's over 100 pages. So this is the final one. Okay, the dude in this, where I've been subjected now to 2 pages of him talking about scrotums. Bluebell. Hey. Meow. Meow. I love you. You're such a pretty girl. Marriage. There's always a winner and a loser. One who makes more withdrawals and deposits, one whose investments turned out to be wiser in the long term, who seems to constantly repay their debts right before the interest rates go up. Okay, guys, I'm done. Whew, good Lord. In the future, 1 book prize at a time instead of trying to do 3 in 1. I finished the last story. The dude in the relationship is trying to be a crime author, and so the story had inserts of like his storyboarding process or whatever ideas for his crime novel, and I hate books within books, stories within stories. It just doesn't work for me. And anyway, he was a stay-at-home dad, cheated on his wife, but she took care of the money, and then they want to get a divorce, but if they get divorced, her rich mother won't include them in their will, so they're keeping up appearances. 3 stars at most. So this whole collection I would rate a 3 star. It was fine. I didn't love it, but now I have finished. So the International Booker, I read 5 of them, DNF the rest. The top rated book for me was As on Earth as It Is Beneath, 3.5 by Anna Paula Maria, translated by Padma Viswanathan. That was my favorite. It was like a movie, an action thriller movie where, these inmates are trying to survive a murderous prison warden in the wilderness. And I don't think that's going to win, even though that is my favorite book and it was shortlisted. Out of the books that are shortlisted, I think She Who Remains will win. That was experimental in the way it was written, and about a woman who chooses to become a man so she can avoid being married off, and then names her brother to be killed in her place. Look, it just wasn't working for me in the way it was written. I do think it will win. Will I do the International Booker as a dedicated blog? No. For whatever reason, just the ones that they pick are not books that appealed to me a lot. Like, I do like translated fiction. Some of my top reads are translated, but for some reason I have thus far not been super successful. So I will always check the books out that are nominated, but I'm not going to be doing dedicated international book of vlogs going forward because they're not to my taste. And the same thing with the women's fiction. I'll look at it, add stuff to my TBR. I might read the winners though. I think I would be curious to read the winners of any awards that I don't vlog, just to see, okay, what was, in their opinion, the best book. So I think I might just do one vlog for that, reading the winners of all these other awards that I'm not doing full long list, short list, dedicated vlogs to. So yeah, out of these three, Stella, I will continue to do a dedicated vlog reading the long list, and International Booker and Women's, I'm just going to read the winners. So when are they being announced? The winner for the International is the 19th of May, and the Women's is the 11th of June, and the Stella is the 13th of May. So it'll be interesting to see who wins, if I predicted it or not. But we are done. So that is everything for this triple book awards prize winning vlog. Until next time, stay reading, Star Child.